Great, everyone. Welcome to June's installment of the monthly Zone 33 ICA call. I hope all of you who were in Singapore have now returned home safely. Hope you all had a wonderful time and not too many tribulations in getting there or getting back. I'd very much like to recognize that Patrick Eakes, our director-elect, is one of those fine folks who made the journey complete and home safely. Jose, our RMO, I saw come into the room. I don't know whether he was one of those folks that went or not, but welcome to him. Welcome to Joe Roth from Zone 34. Welcome to Terry Weaver, our RC from 33. I will do my best to continue to watch the chat and bring everybody in as they come or ask to come in. Let's just get started right out of the gate. A little bit of a recap of our last call last month. And remember, you're always able to view the recordings of the past discussions using the links that go into the recap email. So I hope you all are seeing those. Now, thanks in large part to Terry Weaver and others, the ICA in Zone 33 has its own playlist in the Rotary Zones 33-34 TV YouTube channel. As far as the recap goes, with that first iteration of the Club Builder template now complete, we had a discussion, as I mentioned most recently at the Zone 33 District Leadership Seminar, whether we were calling ourselves by the correct name. I don't know that there's ever going to be any resolution to that. I've had a few people throw out terms like innovative membership advocates, innovative growth advocates. So while I imagine that discussion will be ongoing, I think what's something we can agree upon is that what's ultimately important moving forward is that we demonstrate our actions so that we can achieve relevancy. And no matter what you want to call what we are, what we're doing is growth through innovation. We also last month tried something new where we went across the board asking for folks to come forward and share with this group what their plans, his or her plans may be for the next months moving forward prior to that arbitrary July 1st deadline, because we all now are in agreement that while that line in the sand needs to be drawn, the efforts don't need to slow down, necessarily speed up or anything in between. We should have our foot on that constant gas pedal all the time moving forward. We had 8 of our 17 districts give a report. I'd asked everybody 45 days ago or so if they would be prepared to do that. So following the 4-way test, I feel like it's proper to give anybody else that's on the call that maybe didn't get a chance to share with the group last month what it is that's going on with their district moving forward. If we've got any volunteers, raise your hand, chime in, get started, tell us what's going on with you. Otherwise, if we don't get any volunteers that way, I'll ask a different question. Maybe I'll get a different response.
I would be happy to speak, Sean.
Great, Heather, please do.
I'm still digging into my role, so I'm sure I will even get better at this as time goes on. I have a lot of passion for Rotary, so I think that will help me grow our district. But just to give you guys a recap, the Charleston area is growing substantially. We've had a couple of new members at the Environmental Club. Mount Pleasant has also added 2 new members. Cane Hoy, we had 4 applicants. They did close 1 membership and have sworn that person in, so we're very excited about that. And we have 3 more in the pipeline. And we're going to take a 2-prong approach to this. My goal is to introduce myself to all the clubs in my area and see, what their challenges are and try to put that, rekindle their passion for growing Rotary and say, hey, do you have an end of year campaign in place? I really was impressed with that MAP strategy that came out with that webinar, using the sports team competition for boosting membership, but also just say, hey, there's some, really fresh strategies you can use to help grow your club. And, how can you engage members to recruit members, and just take that approach, but also encourage bigger clubs to consider starting a companion club. So really take a two-pronged approach to it.
Fantastic. And you're right, Heather, not only will you get better at this, we'll all get better at it, myself included, I hope, moving forward. There's always room for more. Anybody
Yeah, and
else?
we have,
Go ahead.
and then we do have 3 clubs talking about information as well for companion, but it's too soon to get too much into that detail, but I will update you over the next quarter.
Sure. Great. Anybody else want to share? I did keep a list if maybe you've forgotten whether or not you've offered up any testimony yet. I'm glad to refresh anyone's memory.
Sean, Carol Burdette here. I haven't been on in a few months due to some conflicts with either other zone assignments or the our work. But I am happy to announce that our second companion club of the year was launched in Greenville, South Carolina, and they had great energy, lots of prospects, and I know that they are gaining members from the event and already have their meeting scheduled and their place. And so I couldn't be happier. I am handing off the torch to a new innovative club advocate. So I'm actually going to be Zooming with that person and our new membership chair tomorrow, talking a little bit about the responsibilities and what to be prepared to do.
Great.
It's been a pleasure.
Great. Even though you may be changing hats, you're welcome to come to these calls every month, right? You know that, right? Well, she actually teed it up for me to pick on somebody, but I'll wait one more time and see if there's anybody else who would like to volunteer, truly volunteer. Otherwise, I'm going to pick on a classmate if that's all right. Mike Walker, 7680. I believe since our last call, there was a mass announcement by your current governor about something fabulous that caused your membership growth to just take off exponentially. Is that correct?
I'm always the last to know it's the DMC, but I'll figure something out here. No, actually, the Charlotte Club has been working on a I'd call it a companion club because they plan to stay affiliated with the Charlotte Club of younger professionals, a leadership impact club, and they finally got it off the ground with about 30 members. And it's something that's, and I think it would work well in maybe in a city like Charleston, Heather, where you've got maybe the Mac Daddy Club in town that either wants to retain some of their Mac Daddy aura, or they want where people just don't feel comfortable or they can't pay the dues. And so this is a club for working to develop new up and coming leaders in Charlotte, and they've got a lot of energy. I'd have to go back and look at it, but I think out of the 30-ish, there's probably 8 or 10 that are children of club members. And there's even a spouse of a club member in the club. So it's for people that just couldn't do the daytime Tuesday, the lunch Tuesday, or whatever there are a lot of different reasons they weren't comfortable or able. And this is an alternative for them, but it's got the strong support of the Charlotte Club. And that's the key, is they're not going to be left hanging because so many of them are connected to members of the Charlotte Club.
Great, great. I think Patrick Longano will tell you that that's the way a lot of those companion clubs started. I've heard both he and Al DeLucia describe that exact scenario to me before. And then lo and behold, there's a new club of people who were already Rotary-ing, but not necessarily with the master logo on their lapel, and that created an opportunity for that to happen. So that's great news, Michael.
But I think one of the reasons it'll be successful is because there is such a strong, father, daughter, mother, son, whatever the relationship is, there are familial relationships between the two clubs.
Great.
Sean, if I might jump in, for those of you who don't know the Charlotte Rotary Club, this is the epitome of the large, traditional, urban, we've always done it this way. They have a museum that I went through last year that would rival any collection of Rotary historical items that I've ever seen anywhere. And their incoming president last year, when he took me through it, he mentioned that he wanted to do this, and we talked a little bit about it. I sent him a follow-up email, and I saw him just before the closing session in Singapore and had a chance to thank him and to express my amazement. And really, if the Charlotte Rotary Club can create this kind of companion, any club can. This is a huge cultural shift for them, and it's really exciting.
The incoming president was my PI chair in my DG year, and we've got a great relationship, and I know she'll continue the growth of that club. I think the club has potential for far beyond 30 members. Yeah. And, you know, the Charlotte Club is one of the few in the district that still has the speakers and president and whoever at a dais up front. So it's definitely a Mac Daddy style club.
I'm going to presume that the Charlotte proper club is large compared to many.
It used to be over 300, but now it's over 200. Now I guess it's, you know, I'm not sure what the exact number of it, but it's heading back toward 250 again with this.
247 as of right now.
Wow.
Thank you, Chris.
Sean,
Yes, sir.
the president actually stood up during our breakout in Singapore. He was so proud of what they did with that Leadership Impact Club, and that he stood up and told his story during the question and answer session. So it was pretty nice to see.
That's
and it's his wife that joined the new club.
Yep.
Great. Anybody else want to share something of recent or forecast for the near future? If not, I've got a similar question, I think. Does anybody still have a district conference to perform between now and the end of this month? Or is everyone pretty much in the books? I will tell you that ours was just this past weekend, and you know, while it was very district conferencey in nature, as you would expect, and some people on this call were able to attend it, there was also the vibe of not just wrapping up the year, but very much looking forward. And I think that's key in that, you know, the strategic planning between our district's current governor and those that will follow him in the near future have really made a commitment to palling around, having a plan, making sure it's consistent, and it's going to be the beat of the same drum, you know, for time, you know, a certain time period to come, at least the foreseeable future. Anybody else getting that feeling in their district that maybe it's there's kind of renewed hope in what the future may look like now that we've been at this crusade?
Could I ask you what percentage, or how much more it was like that because it was so close to the end of the year versus if it had been in April?
Well, I can tell you that you know, our current governor wasn't so much about look at all the things we've done. I mean, that was certainly included, but it's look at the health of our district now compared to maybe the way it's been in years past. Now, I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but my district's only 4 years old. And so we didn't have, you know, any history to try to change. We didn't have any bad habits we had to overcome either. But in the past 4 years, there's been a lot of talk about, well, look how we've done. Look, you know, look where we've come. And this was really, look where we are now compared to where we were when we started. And, you know, our DGE, Jeff DeCibio, and then Rick Masick that's going to follow him. They're very engaged. And I think we are now beyond, in my district, having to search for the next governor. We've got people who are starting to realize that having that position of leadership is a privilege and an honor and something that everyone should want to do. And it just, you know, all the cards are just stacked up in the right way. I hope that answers your question, Mike. Anybody else feeling that vibe in their district?
Well, I feel the vibe in the zone, Sean, and actually kind of in Rotary. I mean, we started this, what is it, 5 years ago, Innovative Clubs with advocacy with Chris and Patrick. And first it was new, and then everybody kind of guffawed at it and was like, what's this? What's this? What's this? And I've been on the call since the very beginning, and not one person mentioned satellite clubs. They all mentioned companions, and John Hugo, during his opening session on the second day, he said 5 ways to revolutionize Rotary, and number 2 was companion clubs. So we've been doing this for 5 years now, starting with Patrick and Chris leading the charge, and Terry, you coming in and doing it. It's just been, I think that it's kind of, we always had the momentum, but it's kind of sweeping up everything. I think people are more positive towards membership growth right now.
Well, I will take my hat off to you and others that were there in that breakout session, because according to my mobile device, every day for the last 12, there's been something on there that just, announces the success and the feedback and the response that you all got while you were there in Singapore. So congratulations to you and anybody else that was involved in that for making that happen for a third time in a row, to be honest.
Yes.
Truth be
Thank
told.
you. Yeah, it was when John Huco decides he's going to use the words companion club, I told him when I saw him in the hallway, no takesy backsies. That's it. It's in the Rotary lexicon. That's it. So we're good.
It doesn't hurt when the CEO is carrying the union card. You are absolutely right, sir.
Yeah.
Chris Justice, I see your hand up, sir.
Hey,
No.
thanks, Sean. I definitely think that there's some inertia, some positive inertia, and what I would, you mentioned district conference. What I would encourage everybody to do is that any of the big events that you can get on the agenda, to discuss this, do it. We were able to get a couple of breakouts for. The service only / impact, however you want to label it. We were able to get on the agenda for our district assembly. And I think I mentioned it last time, but it's important to, mention again, our ICA works hand in hand with our membership committee. I mean, we work in complete concert, and we're, part of really. ICA is going to be part of the membership summit. We're part of assembly. We're part of district conference. We're part of district training. So really anything that membership touches, innovative clubs is involved in. And I want to give you a quick update on the Impact Club, that we've been working on in the downtown Rotary. We had our first service project this past weekend. We've got 8 of the 10 members, new members. And by the way, for Terry's benefit, those are not actually on the roll yet. There's a little bit of a disconnect between what we have in DAC and communicating with RI. So I've actually got to get with Patrick now that he's back stateside and go over a couple of logistic things. But the bottom line is we've got 10 members. We got 8 of them out there. What was even better is that they brought a number of people. So the 8 that we had on site brought 4 potential members to that inaugural service project. So I'm definitely seeing a lot of inertia for that particular thing. And I think what we can do, as the ICA leaders and really in district leadership is to, really message strongly how easy it is to overcome the perceived barriers. And that's what I've been using a lot of my time to do is, there so many people, at the club level have these barriers in their minds, whether it's due structures or, or the disconnect between, how RI, foundation awards are distributed, whether it's the technology, whatever. There's any number of different barriers that people cite. I think that's really our main focus, and you've got to be able to get in front of them, right? And so those training ops and those conferences are critical to doing that.
Absolutely. Anybody else have a burning desire to share? How about from the northern part of our zone? Anything going on that way? I don't see anyone from 7305, but I do see a couple of folks from 7280, including, as I'd mentioned before the call, the world's newest DGND, Mary Lord from 7280 is on the call. Welcome, Mary. Ken, anything that you would want to contribute as far as now that your roster is complete, so to speak, where things are pointing?
It's our district's been an uphill climb for the last 4 years of trying to get this innovative club idea And I think the light bulb is finally going off.
Mhm.
Because before, a lot of clubs, they were resistant to it for the same reasons that a lot of people have talked about, is they're going to steal members from us. Our foundation giving is going to go down. You just name it. But I'm starting to see clubs now reaching out to me for information about impact clubs or satellite clubs. And my hope is that going into next year, we can keep that momentum going. I commend the Charlotte Club for what they've done. We have one large club in our district, and their membership has gone from 170 members in 2019 down to 91. And they're still the same old traditional club, and we're going to do it our way. They think that they're their own district. They don't want to pay attention to us. But what my hope is that next year we can work our way into them and finally convince them that they need to do a companion club or a satellite club, because the way that they're operating now just isn't going to increase their membership.
Well, the moral of the story is you have a plan to get things pointed in the right direction, right? Which is exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yep.
Anybody else on the call? We don't always have to talk about sunshines and daisies. Any other of you having,
I was just going to add a comment to what Ken said, and that's that the beauty of what the Charlotte Club did is they're staying exactly like they were. This allows them to not change their format, to not change their meeting structure, their dais, and all this stuff. They're staying the same way. They're just growing by the Leadership Impact Club and having an impact literally on the community without actually having to change. So that's the beauty of it.
So they're not having that feeling of like they're being poached in any way, like Ken mentions.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Great.
Sean, I can't raise my hand on the thing. I apologize. So just when you get a second.
Go ahead. It's up.
The same objections. You hear the same objections all the time. Top five, they're going to poach our club. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. But it all comes down to money. When it comes down to it, it's been, after 1,000+ meetings, that's what it usually comes down to. And a lot of these clubs that haven't heard about this before or heard fringes, one of the things that they don't want to do is they don't want to change. We all know that. But so once you go in and you make anybody that's on this call, when you start talking with a club and they're just starting to listen, work that into your pitch to them. Is let me show you something where we're not asking you to change one bit. We honor the way that you guys are serving, and everybody that in your club serves differently. So all we're doing is asking you to give that same grace to these people who want to serve the club just a little differently.
Sure.
So you're bringing it up and you're dismissing one of the biggest hurdles to the whole deal, is that they fear that these new people are going to come in there and force them to change the way that they're doing Rotary. And if you can just take that right off the top, right when you start talking to them, it puts them at ease enough to listen to you, to where the only other hurdle you'll usually have to overcome is the money one. So, but that's just a little piece that I've learned about getting, after getting kicked in the teeth so many times on this deal, is that's the first thing I say is you guys are serving awesome. I mean, we just honor the way you're serving and the way that you do it. We're not asking you to change at all. You keep serving the way that you want to serve. Just allow these other people who want to serve your club to serve the way that they can. And for some reason that takes the edge off.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Terry Weaver, you've been patiently waiting with your hand up, sir.
Thank you. Carol Burdett mentioned the Greenville Club in South Carolina, the oldest club in South Carolina, and less than half its peak size of just where we were in the last century. It took 2 years for us after the COL 2016 to get corporate and family memberships through the system, got that done. And we have some members as a result of that. Took a couple more years to get to a service-only membership, some of the ideas that came out of North Carolina, frankly. And only in the past 6 months, I started having conversations. I could tell that the current president was not willing to do anything different. Started having conversations with the incoming president, the PE, and sat down with him. He's a retired plant manager, so he's accustomed to shaking things up. And I said, Roger, we've just got to reinvent this whole thing. I went over the stats with him, and he agreed. He sees the size of our meetings is not what it used to be. And so he, the president-elect, stood up and said, I will put a companion club together, and did. So that's the companion club that Carol was talking about, which was actually piloted by a president-elect and initially populated by some of these service-only members. They were already on our books. They were already ready to go. So, and some of them great Rotarians with 2 or 3 years under their belt. As Carol mentioned, they had their inaugural organizational event a week ago. And I heard from the president this morning, they have 6 new member proposals out of that alone in the hopper. So, and together with the folks that were already in this service-only mode, which we salvaged, frankly, by virtue of doing that. So this companion club thing will work. And I just wanted to mention that, this incubation time was literally 6 years in a 100-year-old club. So these are eggs you got to sit on for a while.
Right. And Terry, if I can continue to pick on you for a minute, I'm aware from the call for the DMC call recently had this past month that your district kind of changed its approach and how it was going to foster membership as well, right? With the club support effort.
Yes. And if you could turn on a screen share for me, since you opened the door as a lawyer.
I'm good at that sometimes. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we did in middle of March, we initiated a club support team, and the only objective was to help clubs do Rotary membership events, Discover Rotary. So we had a hit list of 24, later grew to 30 clubs for a handful of volunteers, a dozen or so, to go out and call on, see if we could get agreement to help them, and then get them to do Discover Rotary events. And wanted to show you, in case you wonder whether this stuff works or not, just, excuse me, to go over the timeline here. This is where we initiated that effort. This was the following month. And then we have never since August been ahead of the success track for this entire year. We've been lagging by 15, 20, and we're finally substantially ahead of the success track. I'm sending a note out to that same team this afternoon saying this is not quite enough insurance. We are, as of today, at 85 members, but our average June drop in the past 4 years has been 75. So we don't have any headroom. And actually, these companion club members from Greenville and others will put some insurance on the top of that already ahead of success track mode. I expect, I'm eagerly anticipating our first net growth year in 3 or 4 years.
That's great, Terry. And there's no reason why your ICA team couldn't develop the same sort of tools and outreach as well. We've talked about that in past months. Mary Gask, you also have been waiting patiently with your hand up. Please feel free to share if you would.
Thank you. It's not actually sharing, it's a question that I have. They had a breakout session at the convention on corporate clubs. I didn't make that because I got sick. But what I've been able to find out is it was, they were talking about a building that had a lot of different organizations or corporations in it, pulling one person or 2 people from each of those to join a corporate club. Is there any reason why you couldn't have a corporate club within just one corporation and have members in that corporation form a Rotary club?
We've done it before.
We
None
have
at all. In fact, a member just joined our Rotary Club this week, who is a member of a corporate Toastmasters club within the Michelin headquarters.
Okay, well, this is a pretty big organization in KC, West Columbia, and they're good community advocates. I'd really like information on how to go about doing that, talking to them to get them going. Terry, are you the person I need to call to get me started on this, or who do I talk to?
Yeah.
You'll be my guide?
Either that or your district ICA. Either way, we'll help.
Yeah,
good. And I've got a couple of other corporations that I think it would work within as well. So I really want to pursue that. I think that that's a good thing.
Right.
Okay.
Great. Great question, Mary. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ken, your hand's back up, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, and I totally agree with what Patrick said, is in no way do I go in or do we go in and tell clubs that they totally have to change their culture. That's their culture. That's what their members, that's why their members are there. Rather, my pitch is there are other people within there are possibly other people within the community that are looking for service, and we need to give them an avenue for that. They may not be able to make your meetings on Tuesdays at noon. Maybe your dues are too high. Those are the types of things that you talk about. And then the other thing is that you start talking about what the successes are. And whenever our district, 10% of our membership is now made up of satellite or companion or impact clubs or new clubs that have started, I think that's what you have to promote is that this is the growth of Rotary going forward.
Right. There are districts, I don't know if they're within our zone. Patrick East, maybe you can help clarify it. I can recall a local story where there was a club within maybe a hospital where it was all just the hospital's employees that were members of this particular Rotary group. Have you ever heard that same story?
Not of a hospital, but for instance, the World Bank had a club based there at the World Bank, and none has come to fruition. But I've worked with a couple of schools that were interested in doing that among their staff. So you absolutely can have a Rotary Club that's based within an employer or within a group of employers within a building. Absolutely, you can do that.
Great. Anybody else want to throw in on that conversation? Or just in general with what's going on in your district or what is planned moving forward? If not, let me shift gears a little bit. And we've not only tonight drawn comparisons between the traditional membership paths and plans and resources, but ICA as well. There's no question that ICA is parallel with membership. So structurally, I have just something I want to throw out to the group. You know that we've had Rotary coordinators, just like Terry, who's on the call, and the two before him from Zone 33 are also on the call. And they've had ARCs to kind of help grow the team and deepen the bench and mold the future in that sense. You know, when ICA started in Zone 33, it was just two. It was Patrick Eakes and Chris Jones. And they held on to that as long as they felt comfortable without asking other people to move in to those roles. And you well know that about this time last year, then that kind of became Sandy Olson and I. And Sandy had to step away, but it's been me since. We've been talking about a plan and creating a team, and we talked about this a little bit last month. And it's certainly not a closed window on who would be interested in doing that. But there are some folks that are on this call who have shown interest in wanting to do that. And I think that's what we're going to try moving forward. In our last planning meeting, we talked about it, and they gave me their blessing to tell everyone on this call who they are. And once I do that, I want to make sure that everyone's clear that if that's something that someone else whose name is not mentioned is interested in being part of, kind of setting up these calls and developing these discussions and facilitations moving forward, please let me know. But with that said, Ken Fleeson from 7280 and Al DeLucia, who is past district governor 7305, Renee Laws, who has got 27 days left being governor, and then she's going to become largely unemployed, has decided that she wants to be involved in that. And also my classmate, Mike Walker from 7680. that's fairly representative of our whole zone. And I think that's a strong team, and that certainly sets it up for, you know, AS, which is after Sean. You know, whatever that might look like, and whenever that might be, at some point that everything comes to an end. But I realize that. So, and like I say, if there are others, anybody that's on this call could certainly be part of it. But if you have a particular interest for it, you just need to let me know, and there's room for everybody at that table.
Well, thank you for not abbreviating after Sean Sawyer.
Yeah, good point. Mike, thanks for passing that out. So glad that AI chat is being transcribed right now. So
I almost put it in the chat and then I didn't.
you know, I should have known better than to even say that. But I spent the weekend with Chris Jones, and he has a habit of doing that too. BC is before Chris, and he had a couple of other. We had an RAA meeting while he was in Rotarians Against Acronyms. And are you all part of that? Yeah, we had one of those meetings this weekend as well. The other thing we are considering doing that I want to share with you and just put up on the screen is much in the way the ARCs work with the RC in our zone. And you know, Zone 34 has 4 zone ICAs, if you will, as well. So this is not anything, you know, completely new. Just something new that we want to try. I'd like to share the screen with you and give you an idea, based on the people that have come forward thus far, how we might be able to tentatively divvy this up. So as soon as that loads up, it should tell me that it is. Can everybody see that?
Sean, real quick, as you're putting that out, these 4 people that you've named, they, you know, I know you're saying that anybody else can help out, but you pretty much divvied up the territory between those 4 people already, correct? Each one of them knows the districts that they're going to be over.
No, don't let me cause anybody to misinterpret that. If the ones who have stepped up remain the only ones who intend to step up, this is where it would be. Clearly, if there were others interested, this would all be reconfigured, and it would lighten the load of each of the 5 people that are going to be doing it moving forward. Does that make sense, Patrick?
Well, I mean, you know, it really doesn't, because if you guys have met before and pretty much have divvied up the area, and now saying afterwards that if somebody stepped forward that they could jump in on it, you know, I mean, it kind of, you know, we don't want to jump in at the inappropriate time. I mean, me and you have had a discussion about this. We talked about this last year. So, but, you know, if you've already divvied up the territory and it would have to be reconfigured, then, you know.
There's nothing cast in stone about them, Patrick. You know, this was kind of our first pass. And if somebody came in, I think all of us would be more than happy to give up a district.
Correct. It is all very tentative, and listen, there was no rocket building going on when that tentative, you know, division of territory was created. It can be redone in about 78 seconds.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that, and I've told you that, and I've told the other 4 people that I was disappointed in that. You know what I mean? With the amount of work that I've put into this over the last 4 or 5 years, to not be included in that initial discussion, whether or not I was given a position at all. I mean, you know, I've had to create basically anything that I've done. So I just go ahead with the thing. I just wanted to make sure. So the map that you have is not set in stone, but it's what you guys have already discussed.
Well, we're asking for additional members, so you know, that's part of why Sean brought this up today. And the one thing that we did do was not to have our own district. You know, that was kind of the only unofficial rule.
Yeah. No, by all means, Patrick, if that's a group that you see yourself being part of, that's
we'd love to have you.
Yep.
Yeah.
It makes
sense. Yeah.
It makes sense. No, that's okay. I mentioned Joe Roth's name a minute ago. Before we get back into that, let me ask Joe if there's anything from the Zone 34 standpoint that he would like to contribute if he's still here. Joe, are you still out there?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you. It's been a while since I saw you. I'd love to see what's going on just below us, if you don't mind sharing.
Well, what I think that what our message to ourselves is to try to emulate Zone 33. We haven't reached the level of communication that you have. We haven't reached the level of organization that you have, and that may not be indicative of the numbers. But what you're putting forward is a great team effort. You've got 30 people on this call, which is fantastic. And I think that that's something that we need to work on. We had a meeting shortly before this meeting with incoming Director Patrick, and talking about some of the things that we want to do as a team. And I think that what we want to do is identify the one most important, what we feel is one most important thing, and that is growing Rotary by creating new club opportunities, whether they be freestanding clubs, whether they be satellite clubs or companion clubs or impact clubs. What we want to do, the message that was shared with us earlier this afternoon is that incoming President Stephanie is looking for 4 new clubs per district in the world. So that may not be attainable in some places, but I think it's attainable in our 2 zones on a district level. And those could be, as I said, any of the above, the freestanding or whatever. So we're trying to come up with a strategy that we're going to put together a strategy or a toolbox for our district membership chairs and ICA representatives in the 14 districts of ideas on how to go for it. In other words, we've talked about it long enough. We need to put something on paper. We talk about having written club membership plans, we're having written district membership plans, but have we talked about a written zone plan for the DMCs and for the ICAs to work with? So we're going to be working on that between now and our training session in Jacksonville at the end of this month, and we're asking all 5 of us. So we've grown our team from 4 to 5 now. Well, we are in the process of growing our team from 4 to 5. We're asking all the 5 of us to come up with ideas and kind of bring all those ideas together and see what flushes out and is doable to present at the Jacksonville meeting or just shortly thereafter to the DMCs and the ICAs, and say, this is the way you should be looking at your work. This is your basket of tools. Use them, adapt them to your use, whichever way you feel comfortable doing it. But at least we stop talking about it, but we'll never stop talking about it. But we don't just talk about it, but we actually create a mission, and we create a product that they can base their activities upon. So I think that it's taking a relatively important step in being a little bit more structured. So that I think that's what we're looking at, is being more structured as a team, because we really do. We talk a lot about the things that we need to do, but sometimes we don't know what those things are. And so I think by putting that together, and obviously once it comes together, this action plan, we'll be happy to share that with you guys in Zone 33. And maybe you can just take, off of that, you guys can come up with some creative activities that we can add to the plan. So I think it's important now. Listen, we don't like to be competitive, but 33 and 34 shouldn't be competitive. We should be working together.
Fantastic. And Joe, I would like to just share with the group, for those of you who aren't friends with Joe on Facebook, there's a flip side to Joe's coin that he didn't mention, and that's the fact that he is putting things out on social media constantly. I see them every time you put one out. They've got to be not just talking the talk, but also walking the walk, Joe. So my hat's off to you for having that kind of commitment to making that happen as well.
Well, I think the mission, this is my first year as DMC, my first year as ICA, but on the local level as the DMC, I felt it was important, or very important, to keep membership in the dialogue every single opportunity. And one of the things that we're going to be asking all our club presidents this year is to mention something about membership at each one of their meetings. And I think if you do that and you keep membership in front of people on a consistent basis, I think it's something that we, will, in the end, it will be a positive step. It will take time, but in the end, it'll be a positive step.
Right.
We've been used to talking about foundation all the time, and so let's talk about membership at the club level and have the presidents commit to talking about membership every single meeting.
That all sounds great. Thank you for sharing that, Joe. And you mentioned one thing that I want to share with the group. Now that we are drawing near to that arbitrary July 1 deadline, if any of you are in a district where you believe it's either time or interest or necessity that your district ICA person is whoever it is that serves in that role may be in a transition, or there may be somebody new that's interested in doing that, please let me know so that we can go through that whole onboarding process that our Zone 33 really asks be done. Because if you're not aware, and Patrick, Chris, feel free to chime in. You two are the ones that taught me this premise, that while each district has its own ICA, this is really a kind of a zone approved position, because we want to make sure from the bottom to the top and vice versa that we have all the right people in all the right places and all the working parts are greased. So Patrick, I saw your mic go off. If you want to address that, I'd welcome you to do that. Plus, we're drawing near the end of our time anyway. Is there anything else besides that you'd like to share from the director-elect perspective?
Sure, and I'll be brief. I know we're getting toward the top of the hour here. What you all are doing, this effort to create clubs, along with what the more traditional things that the Rotary Club, or excuse me, the Rotary Coordinator team is doing to work with our existing clubs. Not that the two are mutually exclusive, that's not the case, but the priorities of each group, in addition to what MAP are doing, I really believe that all three efforts are required for success. I don't think any one of these can get us to success on its own. So all three are required, and what you all are doing is so important. Looking at where this can go, looking at a macro, I will tell you that I've had some preliminary discussions, because we're coming up on realignment of the zones worldwide, something that Rotary does every 8 years, much like the U.S. Congress every 10 years. And it looks to me very likely that we will lose half a zone out of the U.S., which means we will be down to 4 of the 17 elected directors, as opposed to the 5 that we have right now. That's kind of the negative side of this. The positive side of this is if we're successful with our membership efforts, and certainly over the last couple of years, 33 and 34 have both shown that we're moving in the right direction and showing green shoots, showed real progress. If we do well with this, if we're able to grow membership, everything that we love about Rotary gets better. Our opportunities for fellowship, the impact that we have locally as well as globally, just on a micro level in our clubs, our ability to attract good speakers with more people in the room, everything that we love, our support of the Rotary Foundation, certainly all of that gets better when we have the success in membership. So it's really important what you all are doing. This group clearly has cohesion. You've got energy. You've got momentum. I just feel like this particular group with the new club effort is on the launching pad and taking off right now. I really see that. I'm hearing that even in what you all are saying, and we're hearing some of these success stories. So I'm excited. I'm inspired by what you all are doing, and I really encourage you to take this to your districts and to continue to spread this, because I think we have an opportunity to really expand the impact of our new club effort. We know that Stephanie's calling on us to create 4 new clubs per district, be that standalones or Rotaract clubs or companion clubs. That's our mission, and I know that we want to make our president from zones 33 and also 34 You know, she represents both of us. We want to make her proud. So I appreciate you giving me a few minutes, and I'm sorry I'm not quite up to snuff. I'm really feeling the jet lag right now. I know I'm not as energetic as I'd like to be, but I really do feel like this group is taking off, and it's absolutely essential to our success, not only in membership, but as an organization. So I say thank you and keep going.
Patrick, thank you for your comments. And in fact, I will say that you look today almost as good as you did in that photograph of you singing on stage at Singapore. So there you have it.
Yeah, that was a special moment to get to sing on stage there. So
with the Red Hot Chili Pipers.
Red Hot Chili Pipers, yeah.
I think the special moments are going to come later when people reproduce that image and use it as promo material, to be honest with you. But
my wife has said that I will see this forever going forward. So I'm excited about that.
Well, thank you for your kind words and your encouragement as always. It's part of what keeps us going. Is there anything else anybody would like to add to the discussion before I throw up just some kind of closing dates to remember? Seeing none. Give me a thumbs up when you can see the screen share. Got it? Great. Like I said, dates to remember. If I can get the slide to advance. Monday, June 10th, 6 days from now, is our next membership action plan MAP call at 6 p.m. And it as well as going to be somewhat of a recap. Andy has gone through the chronicles of the various MAP calls over a certain period of time. And June's MAP call is going to be the top 10 tips for membership growth. Perfect timing. Week following that, on the 17th, we're back into Zoom formation mode. Now that I assume perhaps Jeremy is nearly home, if not already. That afternoon at 1 o'clock will be that call with our monthly DMC call for Zone 33 following later in the evening. Then, of course, please don't forget 3 days later on the 20th, the monthly numbers are due for the last time in this current template. The 24-25 one has been built and is being compiled as districts come forward, sharing their ideas about who their next district ICA champion is going to be. And then, of course, this call next month, very happily dodges the U.S. holiday for Independence Day, and it will be on Tuesday, July the 2nd at 5 o'clock p.m. And one other thing to recall is, if you weren't aware, today in the United States is National Cheese Day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would wish all of you a happy National Cheese Day. Anything else for the good of the order? If not, thank each and every one of you for being on the call, contributing what you do, doing what you do otherwise when we're not on calls. Governors-elect, next time we meet, you will have lost your E. Congratulations. Everybody else moves a step up on the ladder. I have now satisfied my 3rd year as DMC, so I am jumping off of that particular ladder. So if you need us, we're here in the meantime. Otherwise, again, thank you all very much for being here. I'll stop the recording and I'll see you all next month.